Joining us right now is former House Majority Leader and Texas Congressman Tom DeLay. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to see you, Maria. I saw the Al Smith dinner. You were stunning.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. So President Obama is also set to endorse 150 state legislative candidates. What do you think about when he says something like this? Do nothing Congress. We need a Congress that's going to do their jobs. We don't want this Congress that hasn't done anything. What's your reaction?
Well, it's typical for a president that's not agreeing with Congress. Congress has been passing bills left and right. The problem is the president won't support any of them. And Congress has pretty much put together a contract with America called the Better Way. And, of course, the president doesn't support any of that. So we have divided government. This is what we get.
That's why I asked you that.
You know, the president,
yeah.
the president endorsing all these candidates, bring it on. Tying Obama around candidates' necks is going to help us.
So you think people are going to see through that and say, look, we know what Congress has been doing, and all the bills stopped between you and Harry Reid.
That's exactly right, and the American people understand that. And these members of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, they're running their own races. I know that Democrats are trying to tie Trump around their necks, but they're running their own races, and they've been running their own races for over a year. So their constituents know what's going on.
It's not just President Obama, Congressman, by the way. It's Jacob McDowell. President Barack Obama's approval rating is through the roof, #1, but it's also all the other people on the campaign trail. Not just campaigning for Hillary Clinton, but again, trying to get people out to vote for those down-ballot Democrats. Look, Michelle Obama and Hillary Clinton are going to be on the campaign trail together later this week.
Well, I have to admit that the Democrats have a much better turnout mechanism and organization than Trump but
yeah,
the Republicans running, especially running for the Senate, and Republicans running for the House, they have their own mechanisms. They're not relying on the party like Trump is. So it's going to be close in some of these states for the Senate race, but the House is doing fine. It's going to be fine.
Well, Texas was never close, right? I mean, it hasn't been a blue state since voting for Jimmy Carter back in 1976. But in the latest YouGov and CBS News poll, Trump holds just a 3% lead over Hillary Clinton. So tell us, Congressman DeLay, what's going on with Texas? Do you think it's becoming a swing state, amazingly? Or is that
CBS
just a lot
ought
of
to
BS?
stay out of Texas. They're wasting their money doing a poll in Texas. That's ridiculous. Texas is. I know the Democrats have been praying and relying on a huge population growth amongst Latinos in Texas, but a lot of Latinos vote Republican. So this whole notion that Texas is in play. It's just laughable. I can't believe me, it's not in play.
That is funny. Okay, all right.
Congressman, it's Kevin Kelly. The question I have for you is, you said that the House is going to be fine, but the worrisome is in the Senate. Is that going to impact the Supreme Court vote that we should worry about? And are senators going to be focusing on that and making that their key argument in the upcoming election?
Well, listen, a lot of people focus on the Supreme Court. First of all, the president only makes a nomination to the Supreme Court. It's up to the Senate to place that justice in his chair. So if you can, it doesn't even matter if you can get 50 to 51 or 50 to 49 Republican senators, they can block any Supreme Court decision. And by the way, it's not in the Constitution that we have to have 9 justices. So they don't have to place anybody on the Supreme Court for the next 4 years.
Congressman, this is Kirsten Hagelin. So I'm wondering, in an election year like this, where the vitriol has just been so intense and Americans are more divided than ever before, you know, in so many of our memories, even after the election, I think we're all waiting for November 8th to get here and be gone. But what does it look like if we are likely going to have divided government again? What does it look like for any kind of legislation going forward? I think Americans, they feel like they want to see bills be passed, but our founders created a government where we were supposed to have gridlock so that things wouldn't be passed unnecessarily or too quickly. What's your view of the divided government situation after November 8th?
Well, I'm not afraid of divided government. I was in leadership when the Republicans took over in '95, and in 1995 we sent a message very clear. We eliminated to Bill Clinton, the president, that we were in town, we understood what the power of the purse was, and we stood our ground, and we sent a message to him that we were crazy. We'd walk off the cliff. And for the next 6 years, Bill Clinton did not get to sign one bill that he initiated. So it's going to be up to the House to establish that authority and establish that responsibility and send a message to either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump that they're in charge.
Congressman, let me go back to something you just said. It was really interesting when you said it's not in the Constitution to have 9 Supreme Court justices. What are you saying? Are you expecting that we're not going to see this take place in the next 4 years? How do you see this playing out?
Well, I wrote a book called Revival, Revolution, Rebirth, and I explain all that in the book. The point is, if you read Article 3 of the Constitution, yes, the Supreme Court is created by the Constitution, but it's the only court created by the Constitution, and there's no number in Article 3. Our first Supreme Court only had 5 justices. So this notion that we have to have a replacement is ridiculous. If Congress decides that it only wants 8 justices or 7 justices or 5 justices, they could do that. And we're going to focus on that in the upcoming year and educate the American people to put pressure on the Senate to only approve of justices that are constitutionalists. And you don't have to replace Scalia if you don't want to, if you have the political power not to.